Oh, hello. Elephant in the room. Elephant on the scale, more like. Khamzat Chimaev missed weight by nearly 10 pounds. But he officially missed weight by 7.5 because obviously you get the champion, you get the 1 pound allowance. But still, good God, man. That is a lot to miss by. There must have been some sort of health complications. I think officially the doctors told him to stop cutting. I think he wanted to carry on cutting, but the doctors said to him no. Like, they looked at his levels or whatever and were not happy that it was safe for him to continue cutting weight. So yeah, he missed weight by an absolute fucking landslide. And then that's obviously forced the UFC to make some changes. And now I did actually say, I was discussing it with CMA Podcast Dave. Shout out CMA Podcast, a brilliant podcast. Go and check out the CMA Podcast, City Martial Arts Sweden, run by Dave Keane. Brilliant podcast. Definitely go and check that out. But anyway, I was discussing obviously the goings on with him, and I actually said to him, like, I'm not lying, this is before all of the events transpired. I said, look, if I was Dana White, what I would do is I would make it Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson at 170 because they've both made 170, and then see it, because obviously Khamzat and Kevin Holland have got into it backstage apparently, and obviously Holland was already fighting at 180 pounds anyway. That was a catchweight fight scheduled against Rodriguez. I said it would make sense to put Khamzat Chimaev against Kevin Holland and then see if Li Jiangliang doesn't mind possibly taking on somebody who is going to be a little bit heavier, because obviously Daniel Rodriguez was weighed in at 180 anyway, but Li Jiangliang had to cut to 170. So that is a bit of a dick move for old poor Li Jiangliang. But I'm hoping the UFC have gave him a little little backhander just to sweeten him up a little bit. I would, because he's taking on a guy who's basically going to be a weight class above. He weighed in like a weight class above, like effectively, much closer to middleweight than to 180. But Rodriguez didn't miss weight. I want to make sure we're clear on that. Rodriguez was scheduled to fight at 180 pounds. So I said that to David in a message, and he came back and said, "Yep, bang on correct." And I was like, if only my actual betting was as bang on correct as that, because literally that's exactly what Dana White has done. So now we have got a new main event: Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson at 170 pounds. Very good fight that. Khamzat Chimaev will now take on Kevin Holland at middleweight. Well, 180 pounds rather, because that's where Kevin Holland was weighing in for. And Li Jiangliang will take on Daniel Rodriguez. That's going to be a catchweight bout as well, because Rodriguez was originally scheduled for that. But Li Jiangliang did, unfortunately, not say unfortunately, he made 170 pounds. He made 170 because he's a fucking professional, and he knew what weight he was supposed to be at, and he made the fucking weight. So I'm going to do a quick video. It's not going to be a long one. I'm just going to do a few more picks for this card. UFC 279. So the Burt Locker fights in 15 for UFC 279 Part 2. Right, we're going to start off Li Jiangliang versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, this one is taking place. Rodriguez weighed in at 180 pounds because that's what he was scheduled to do so. And Li Jiangliang, actually, he made 170 because he's a professional. It's a bit, out of all the fights that have been changed, this one is kind of like this one hurts Li Jiangliang. Like, Li was supposed to be fighting Tony Ferguson, who's a household name. A win over Tony Ferguson really puts a feather in your cap. He made 170 pounds. Now he's fighting a guy who only had to make 180 pounds. Let's be realistic. Daniel Rodriguez is going to rehydrate. Rodriguez is going to be the bigger guy here, and fair play to Li Jiangliang. He has stepped up, and because to make all this possible, everyone had to kind of agree to everything. I would think the UFC have probably made it worth his while. I would imagine there's been a little bit of money changing hands, because it's like, look, Lee, we're going to need you to fight this guy who's weighed in 10 pounds heavier than you. Not his fault, not Rodriguez's fault. None of these guys did anything wrong. The only person that failed to meet their obligations was Khamzat Chimaev. And everybody's had to kind of move around to accommodate Khamzat's poor weight cutting, and that's what it was. It was poor. Like, the first battle is with the scales, and Khamzat failed. He lost that battle. You know, reasons are kind of irrelevant at this point. Like he failed to make the weight, and as a result, it's shaken this whole card up. But not in a bad way. There's some really fun fights here. So, Li Jiangliang versus Daniel Rodriguez. Well, right, even if Rodriguez wasn't weighing in quite a lot heavier than Li, I think this one stylistically is not a wonderful fight for Li Jiangliang anyway, because you've got the reach in favour of Daniel Rodriguez. He's got like a 3-inch reach advantage and change. He's going to be heavier. And Rodriguez, he's got some fucking heavy hands. He really does. Now, Li Jiangliang, I think he's probably going to have the slight power advantage, but only because of the way he fights. He stands with a very low stance, right? He stays quite low, and his punches come up and they loop round. If you remember in my other video, I noted it. Like he caught Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio is a very good striker as well. You've got to remember that Li Jiangliang sparked him out because he brings his punches, he loops them round, he caught them. The problem is Daniel Rodriguez has a style that kind of negates that. His low kicks are very good for a start. The low kick, if I think they're in opposite stances, these. What does it say? What stance they are? It doesn't say. But either way, the leg kick to the lead leg is going to be there, whether it ends up being an inside leg kick if they're in opposite stances, or an outside leg kick if they're mirrored stances. But in either event, the low calf kick Rodriguez throws very, very well, and that could be a real problem for that lead leg of Li Jiangliang, which he tends to leave forward quite heavily. So. Yeah, and also the other problem that you've got for Li Jiangliang, unfortunately, is that because his shots tend to come round the side in kind of a looping fashion, the Rodriguez, he tends to go down the pipe a little bit more. His shots, he keeps his boxing simple, and that's what I like. He's very simple but very effective, and he's going to put shots down the pipe, and that with the leg kicks are going to really disrupt Li Jiangliang, in my opinion. So you've got Li Jiangliang coming in as an underdog here, 2.25 against Daniel Rodriguez, 1.62, because I'm actually placing these bets in real time for this one as well. I might start doing this more often, it's kind of fun. But for me, I think that Daniel Rodriguez, I mean, he's probably going to get the decision here. It's going to be a decision or a TKO, so I might see what the double chance is. Is there a double chance on Rodriguez TKO decision, 1.73. It's not great odds, but if you're putting that on the accumulator as well, that's probably what I'm going to go with, because I think decision or knockout or TKO is the best one there. I think it's more likely the decision, honestly, more likely to be the decision. But yeah, 1.73 double chance, TKO knockout or the decision for Daniel Rodriguez on that one. That one is going on the bet slip. Then you have the new catchweight bout, where like they're going to be 180 pounds. You've got Khamzat Chimaev taking on Kevin Holland. Now these two are apparently the main reason that the press conference was cancelled the other day, because apparently they got into it backstage. It all started kicking off. Holland and Khamzat have been going back and forth for a little while, and yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously Khamzat didn't make the weight, so now you've got two guys that are going to be like the same size, going to be squaring off. We still get to see Khamzat Chimaev go to the cage, which is always good. It's going to, because he's an exciting presence. He's an exciting prospect, and it should be fun to watch. But yeah, you've got Kevin Holland, who's also a pretty big guy. The main problem I see here for Kevin Holland is actually. We've seen previously Kevin Holland struggles when he gets wrestle fucked, and I think that is what Khamzat Chimaev is going to do to him, because I don't think Chimaev is going to be interested in losing this fight now. I think that he's just going to wrestle fuck him until he gets. I think it could go, because it's 3 rounds this one now. This one could, like, really, it's pick your poison. You're going to have to pick a method for Chimaev. Look, I'm not going to count Kevin Holland out completely. Holland has some unorthodox strikes. He's got really good power. You saw what he did against Ronaldo Souza. He caught him like when he was off his back effectively and knocked him out off his back. You know, I think that the only problem, I mean, Holland's durable as well. I think this goes to a decision. I think Khamzat Chimaev gets a decision here. Holland's going to be tough to put away. He's like, I want to just check how many times has Holland actually been finished, because I don't know if it's that many, honestly. Hold on, let me just bear with me one moment. But either way, there's a lot of beef between these two guys, and it's fun. It's always fun to see fighters. Yeah, he's been submitted twice. He's lost by decision 5 times. I think that, right, because I've got to make a pick. I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev by decision, because you're actually getting the best odds on that as well. It's going to be 3 rounds, and Kevin Holland he's tough. He's going to be tough to put away. But I think that Khamzat Chimaev, he's not going to take any risks because he's already missed weight. He already looks like a bit of a tit because he's missed weight by that much. I think he's going to make sure that he gets the win. The easiest way for him to do that is just going to be to wrestle fuck Kevin Holland. So that's what my money's going to go on. Khamzat by WrestleFuck. And there you got the new main event, Nate Diaz against Tony Ferguson. Arguably, this is now a better main event. A more appropriate main event anyway. I actually liked Diaz's chances against Khamzat Chimaev, just because you know that he's got the cardio and just the sheer will, like he's just so hard to put away. And that would be, I think that would have been a problem for Khamzat Chimaev, because Diaz is quite a big guy as well. Now, you've still got Diaz coming in as the underdog in this one, which I think is very interesting, because look, Tony Ferguson, he is not he fights at welterweight, lightweight. Sorry, yeah, he fights at lightweight. He won the welterweight UFC tournament, obviously the tough series, but he fights at lightweight. Now, Diaz, he used to fight at lightweight for a lot of his career, but he's a big dude for lightweight, and he's fought at welterweight for the majority. Now, the reach is basically the same, half an inch in it in favour of Tony Ferguson, but Diaz is quite a lot taller, and the problem for Tony here is that he's very hittable. I've always said this. Like, I thought he was going to be hittable against Li Jiangyang, whose punches go looping up round the side. Now, Diaz, he's much more straight down the pipe with his punches, and you know he throws hooks, but they're almost like jab hooks that like come in and kind of snap back in at the last second. He's very effective with those. He's going to kill him with volume, and I think that's what Diaz does here. Diaz is coming in as the underdog. I think he's going to be significantly bigger than Tony Ferguson, but like I think that Ferguson actually, you know, I say that there's only a couple of inches in it and their reach is the same, but for me the problem with Ferguson is that he's very, very hittable. I think it'd be most interesting if this one goes to the ground, because I'm really interested to see whose grappling is better. We know both of these guys are elite level grapplers, but we did see Diaz get kind of out grappled by Leon Edwards in their fight. There were quite a few grappling exchanges in there where Leon Edwards got the better of them. And I don't know, would you say that Tony Ferguson is probably grappling is his bread and butter, whereas Leon Edwards, he's a kickboxer by trade. So to see Diaz get out grappled in sections by Leon Edwards maybe makes you lean towards Tony Ferguson to get the better of the grappling exchanges. So if it goes to the ground, we might see Ferguson do something really special here and maybe get the submission over Nate Diaz, because when you're looking at odds-wise, the submission for Tony Ferguson, they're not bad actually. You've got you're getting 12-1 on the submission for Tony Ferguson. I don't mind that as a bet, you know. I'm going to you know what? I'm not putting that on the accumulator, but I am going to put that on as a separate bet. Just Tony Ferguson by submission. Because if they get into the grappling exchanges, Tony Ferguson may well be better. But I mean, they're both elite, but like one of them's going to be better than the other, aren't they? Nate Diaz is still coming in as the underdog here. And I quite like that. But my biggest problem is, I think that Tony Ferguson is very hittable. He has been his entire career. Watch the fight against Pettis. You know, he tends to just take a lot of damage. I mean, obviously, you know, we all saw what Gaethje did. Yeah, for me, Tony Ferguson is too hittable. So the one that I'm putting on my accumulator, I think over 5 rounds, Nate Diaz he'll just turn up the volume to a level that Tony Ferguson won't be able to quite keep up with, and he'll just overwhelm Tony with volume, and I think he gets the finish late, you know, 4th, 5th round. So getting 5-1 just on the knockout TKO for Diaz there, and I'm obviously putting those all together onto one terrible bet. So you've got Rodriguez double chance knockout decision, Khamzat Chimaev to win by decision, and Nate Diaz to win by TKO knockout. That is 37 to 1. That's worth putting £1 on there. Do you know, fucking terrible. But either way, right, it's been an exciting event already. Fucking chaos. Chaos all over the place. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the fights pan out. So I'll give these a recap next week. There'll be lots to talk about, no doubt. But until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.